Veteran gets convicted of benefits fraud, and this is tough to read. But let's talk about this and how this might impact you. If you've been following the news, this made the news in the Maryland area. I don't know, which is where we are. I don't know if this made it nationally or internationally, but there was a case recently where a veteran stood trial actually in U.S. District Court for basically scamming the VA out of hundreds of thousands of dollars in benefits. And this is actually an incredibly sad story. He was ultimately convicted. By the way, I do not have any insider knowledge in this case. I do not represent the veteran. I've never spoken to the veteran. I've never worked on his case. It's a sad story, so everything I'm reporting, though, is I'm reporting from the news itself. Before I get started, this case shows why it's important to be honest. You don't leave your integrity at the door when you leave the military, right? I don't tell people to inflate their symptoms. I also don't tell people to ignore their symptoms or diminish them. If something's bothering you, be truthful. Be truthful to how bad it is. Don't blow it out of proportion. Don't, if you're not feeling suicidal ideations, don't claim that you're feeling suicidal ideations. If you are feeling suicidal ideations, talk to somebody. Please take care of yourself. But don't make up stuff. But let's talk about Mr. William Rich, who was unfortunately just convicted. And is a really sad case. Mr. Rich is an Iraq veteran who was legitimately injured in Iraq. 2005, he was at a DFAC, and a blast, an explosion, toppled a wall, and the wall fell on him and injured him. Gave him legitimate injuries. No question about that. He was actually banged up pretty bad. The reports say that his flak jacket, his IOTV or whatever the thing was that they were wearing at the time, probably saved his life. That's where the story departs. He probably would have gotten VA disability benefits for that one for sure, as well he should. The problem here is worse though. As you may know, there are ratings above 100% that we call special monthly compensation, and that can occur if you need aid in attendance for service-connected disability, or if you have an amputation, loss of use of your legs, you're in a wheelchair, you're housebound, a couple different things that can cause the need for special monthly compensation. And these benefits can be quite significant, up to $7,000, $8,000, $9,000 a month, depending on what's going on. It's also pretty rare to get up to that high level. And you're thinking, well, I mean, he was injured pretty bad. Well, here's the problem though. He was lying about how badly he was injured at VA disability exams. He actually rolled into these disability compensation and pension exams in a wheelchair, and then as soon as he rolled out of the exam, he would fold up his wheelchair and throw it in the back of his car. He was actually, I don't know how this investigation got started, and that's something that I have a real question about, but he was actually witnessed and followed by investigators doing things that an individual who's in a wheelchair shouldn't be able to do, like walking around. He apparently took a selfie at the gym one time, which, again, if you're physically injured and working out, that's important, to stay as healthy as you can. He kept lying about his loss of use of extremities. Now, this is a really, really extreme case, claiming to be wheelchair bound when he wasn't. And this is also, I think, a little bit on the VA, because how do they not verify that he was in a wheelchair? They actually investigated him, and the government sicked some federal agents on him to watch him as he went about his daily business, and they videotaped this. He was legitimately injured, but again, he just kept inflating his symptoms. Unfortunately, when you start lying, it's really hard to maintain a lie, right? Eventually, you forget telling people, you forget what you've told other people. It's hard to keep it consistent. You might tell one person one thing and the other person the other thing. Now, minor inconsistencies aren't a big deal, generally speaking, but it is in this guy's case. Again, if you're going to act, I'm not encouraging anybody to do this, but if you're going to act like you're a paraplegic, you got to be paraplegic 24/7. I had videos of him, getting out of the wheelchair, walking, putting his wheelchair in his car after he's saying that he had no use of his legs at all, and that's clearly not true. Again, what's really sad is that he was actually probably entitled to some pretty significant VA disability just on his own, but he did claim stuff he wasn't entitled to. Now, what does this mean for you, the veteran, watching this video? Chances are the VA is not going to investigate you. They just aren't. But that doesn't mean you can BS your way through this claim. You have to be honest about your symptoms. If you're not getting headaches that keep you in bed once or twice a month, don't say that you are. Don't lie that you're in a wheelchair when you're not. Don't lie about various things, you should be okay. Just tell the truth, be honest about your symptoms, seek the doctor, get witness statements about how your symptoms affect you, and let the chips fall where they may. Now, this doesn't mean that the VA won't make mistakes, they won't underrate you. And if I were Mr. Rich's defense attorney, the first thing I would have asked was, did the VA make a mistake here? Did they just give him benefits that he wasn't entitled to? And now they're saying it's fraud? Well, no, it looks like there's video that he actually presented himself to be in a wheelchair when he wasn't. So this isn't an issue of mistake, it looked like, and the jury seemed to agree when they came back in about 90 minutes and convicted him. Don't be worried about, keeping consistent stories. Just tell the truth. It's easy to be consistent when you're telling the truth. Tell the truth about what's wrong with you. Don't exaggerate your symptoms to the point where you're rolling in a wheelchair when you don't need one. You should be fine. That said, if the VA has denied your plainly obvious symptoms and the ones you've been honest about, and you believe you're entitled to service connection or a higher rating, and you need help appealing it, give us a call, reach out. Keep in mind, the best way to do that and the best way to keep your earliest possible effective date is to do this as soon as possible. As soon as you get that bad decision that you disagree with, reach out, see what we can do for you. Till next time, take care.